podcast with your host, best-selling author, professional speaker, and member of the John Maxwell team, Dominic Dom Brightmon. And every Monday and Thursday, we're going to hear the voice of a different author sharing their gifts, stories, and expertise to help you charge forward in life. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, it's February 1st, Black History Month 2021. We're hoping this year doesn't continue to drink all the alcohol the 2020 drank, but we got one heck of a special guest for today, my folks, my friends, this guy right here, a fellow chocolate brother in the city of charm, crime, and crabs known as Baltimore. And what's even more beautiful about this brother right here is that he just doesn't stay in the neighborhood. He goes outside the neighborhood and mask on nowadays, thanks to COVID. But he's an international speaker, youth advocate, professional development coach, and a published author of multiple books. So let's give it up for the fabulous one and only RCB, Mr. Rodney C Burris. How you doing today, sir?
Man, Dom, listen, I just want everybody to know that I'm definitely, guys, I'm going to have to take Dom with me around the world so he can give that same introduction everywhere, man. Dom, you got to reintroduce me to my own mama, man. That was... Man, brother, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm here in the city. You say charms, crabs, and crime, man. Baltimore, Maryland, man. Thank you so much, man. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, that's funny. My man said I had to reintroduce you to your old mama. That's a new one.
I loved it, man. Man, I don't think nobody said it better. I'm like, Mom, you thought you knew me. You thought you knew me, mother. Wait till Dom introduces me to you. You get to meet me all over. Thank you so much, man, for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And glad you reached out to, and it's good to know some fellow folks doing some positive things in the world, and heck, even right here in the city of Maryland, which gets a bad rap because folks keep on listening to the mixtape from quote unquote trash rappers called the media.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. And that's not our case at all, man. Just not to derail us too much, Don, but just on that point right there, I remember a few years ago, we were having some unrest in the city. And I was looking on CNN and big headlines, showed a CVS that was on fire, and a big headline on CNN said Baltimore is burning. And I look at the TV and I look outside. My kids outside. My wife and I have 5 children. We live in a nice neighborhood. We live in a part of Baltimore City called Govans. We live in the city and not out in any of the surrounding suburbs. And there's about 20 neighborhood children that live all around us. They're outside. They're riding bikes. They're skateboarding. I mean, it's a regular, idyllic kind of little childhood. Now, I live in the city, so, up the street around the corner, you got everything. But where we were, it was fine. And I look back at the TV, and they telling me that my city's burning, Baltimore. And I look out my front window, Dom, and I see my kids playing, man. And so it's very, very, very important that we all pay attention to how stories are represented in the news, how stories are represented in the media. A lot of it is for ratings, and not to say that these things don't happen. That CVS, I literally was a part of the team that helped clean it up. The next day, I literally was a part of the team. I put on Facebook, hey guys, I'm going down around 12 noon, me and my 2 sons, anybody want to join us? And when I got down there, man, it was about 1,000 people. I literally thought it was going to be me, maybe 3, 4, 5 folks that followed me on Facebook. It literally was, and I'm guesstimating, anywhere between 8 to 900, maybe 1,000, maybe over 1,000. It was news outlets from all over the world. My wife dressed me and my sons in matching shirts, and they were very small. They were like 7 and 9 back then or something. So we continuously got stopped by these news. Oh, you guys are so cute. Let me take a picture. What brings you out? What's your take on what's been going on? So it was just really, really good to see the city come together, Dom. It was good to be a part of that positive energy. And those are the stories that I choose to be involved in. That's the world that I choose to live in. And I'm glad that people like yourself are perpetuating that sort of positivity, man. It's an honor to be connected to you, bro.
Likewise, man, and so many powerful points in that one great story, dude, because I'm sure you heard of the classic phrase that perception is reality. And the thing is, like the media is so powerful nowadays. If it's the traditional media, and a lot of people still look to it and believe in it, that they may
Hmm.
see the headline "Baltimore is burning," but when you talk
Hmm.
to someone who's actually living in the city, and they're
Right.
like, "Sure, that CVS burned down, but that ain't the
Hmm.
whole city. Like
That's not the whole
we
city.
we the inner harbor's still here. They ain't letting
Right,
nobody touch that."
right. Inner Harbor's still here. My neighborhood was here, and tons of other communities, man. And that's true for cities all over America. And it's actually true for places all around the world, man. I could talk your head off, Dom, about places that I've been that the media has put, for example, Johannesburg, South Africa. I had no idea that I was going to be landing in one of the most beautiful metropolises that I've ever seen. High rises and skyscrapers and highways winding through the city area. And I landed in the airport in the middle of the night, 1 in the morning. They immediately took me to one of the most immaculate casinos that I've ever been to. And it was beautiful. And it wasn't a resort. It was regular folks that lived in Johannesburg. So you know what that means? What do I mean by regular folk? I mean black folk regular in this beautiful, immaculate, top dollar place. It was the people that lived there that was just enjoying their weekend. And to experience that Dom times 100 other experiences that I've had around the world, it's just an honor to really live and then share those stories to kind of broaden our horizons for all of us.
Heck yeah, indeed. Broaden her horizons indeed. And that gave another powerful point is the fact that you mentioned how you choose to live
Mm,
stories. Like
mhm.
that's so powerful right there because like every day we make choices, whether
That's right.
it's conscious or unconscious. And heck, even sometimes more conscious than we want to admit. So my goodness, man. So for those who don't know about you yet, what story have you chose to live and how you got there to that point?
Wow, man. So I found myself, Dom, being in a position where there's this old quote, man, that I love. And it says, if you do what you love and you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I'm was able to experience this firsthand, right? I'm currently living the type of lifestyle, Dom, that doesn't feel like work. My work gives me life, right? To quote another thing that I say all the time, if what you do for a living doesn't give you life, then what are we doing? Right? What are we
Yep.
doing? And so I do leadership development training. And what that literally means is that I go into colleges and corporations and nonprofits and community organizations, and I'm in high schools working with the teachers and staff, and I'm with direct service workers and executive teams. And my largest client was Fiat Chrysler Automotive, based in Michigan. So literally being in their headquarters, 14 Dom, 14,000 employees check in to that headquarters. Not to mention guests that may come in for temporary contracts or visiting or whatever it is. 14,000. Their building, Fiat Chrysler Automotive, FCA, their building covers the footprint of a seventh of a mile, 7 city blocks. They have a huge tower. So I literally was there. So that's been one of my largest clients, right? But I've done this work in Costa Rica and I've done it all over the place. And that sounds shiny, right? Master's degree and a graduate from Johns Hopkins, and all of that sounds amazingly shiny. But the other side of my coin, bro, is coming out of a home where heroin and substance abuse dictated my childhood. Domestic violence dictated my childhood. I had a life of instability, being homeless for a little while. And when I say homeless, me and my mom and my little sisters lived out of my car, out of her car. Our refrigerator was a little styrofoam. You know, when 4th of July comes and you go to the grocery store, you grab the styrofoam cooler, throw ice in it. That was our fridge,
Oh
bro.
yeah.
Yeah, man. And so, that kind of background, and we always moved, Dom. Like it was when we left Baltimore. I left Baltimore when I was 7 years old. I was born up here in the city. And I eventually came back, right, for college. But in between coming back for college and leaving when I was 7, I realized that from my birth, I had never spent more than 2 years in a home, in a residence. Every single couple of years of my life, I was moving, and that included when I was in school. So I was in 3 or 4 schools for elementary. I was in 3 schools for middle school. Um, I was in 2 schools for high school, and it wasn't until leaving high school and going into my first year of college that I was able to kind of look back and see that we weren't just moving, that my mom was literally moving us socioeconomic classes, like neighborhoods. And I didn't realize that because when we left Baltimore, we lived out of the car and we were in the city rescue mission in Jacksonville. We left in the middle of the night. Well, we actually left first thing in the morning. It was due to a domestic violence incident between her and my dad. My mom was like, I'm sick of this. And when my dad went and passed out, laid out on the couch, she went to get the red gasoline can, and she was going to burn him and the house up. And in the middle of getting those things prepared, she had like a moment of clarity, Dom. And she said, I'm not crazy. She had a breakdown. Now, I wasn't aware of any of this. I was 7 years old. And she collected us the next morning. She threw us in the car and she drove until she felt safe. It's not that many places to go on a highway after Florida, leaving Baltimore, Maryland. And we ended up in Jacksonville, Florida. We tried to get services. And by we, I mean my mom, because I definitely was very much a child. But I became like her shoulder to cry on. And I became, in a sense, kind of like her confidant. And like, I'm the oldest child and I'm the only boy. So big brother, 2 younger sisters. So I was kind of like the strength of my little clan at a very, very young age. And that has a lot of beautiful points to it, and it has a lot of bruises to it, right? And all of this has informed the work that I do in this world. And so you fast forward through all of the moving and all of the changing and my mom trying to get us in the better neighborhoods and better schools so that her children have a different opportunity than what she came up out of. I always had good grades. That's a gift and a curse because I would do great on your standardized tests. I did great on any exams or essays that we had to write, but my home life wasn't conducive to homework. So I didn't have the best study habits, but that's because things were kind of always moving and in a turmoil. But I had really, really good grades, and teachers always saw something in me. You know, I'm throwing my air quotes up right now. Like, they saw something in me. And by the time I was graduating high school, I had an opportunity, especially after I took the standardized tests. I was getting letters from, I mean, you name the school. I got a whole packet sent to me from Yale and an interest letter from Harvard that I should give them a look and all of this stuff. But my dad had came to Florida and lived with us for a little while. Things got good and then they got worse. And then he left and was back in Baltimore. And I wanted to find my dad. And so I found out that there was this little school that I'd never heard of called Johns Hopkins University. And I never heard of that school, right? I heard of your UCLAs and I heard of your Cornells. I'd never heard of Johns Hopkins, but it was connected to the hospital I was born in. So I was like, well, they must be good for medicine, right? Because I know my hospital was a good place to be born. And at that time, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. And I only picked that because when we were coming up, Don, what did they tell us? You go to school so you can get a job, so you can become a doctor, lawyer, engineer, right? That was the pitch that they gave us. And so I picked one of those 3. I didn't have any particular affinity to any one of them, but I didn't know what else to say. And I found Johns Hopkins, so I told everybody that that's where I wanted to go. But I wanted to go there not for medicine, man. I wanted to go there because it was in Baltimore, and my daddy was in Baltimore. And I wanted my daddy. I needed my daddy, I thought. And so I applied early decision to get into Hopkins. They somehow, crazy group of folks in the admissions office let me in. Uh, and I went to Hopkins and I made the dean's list, Dom, and I was I was there for medicine, right? I was a pre-med student, and I took an exploratory brand new class that they was offering my first semester there. It was called Topics of Neuroscience. Mr. Brightmon, this class showed a very clear and explicit video of an aneurysm surgery.
Ooh.
At the time, I didn't know what an aneurysm was. For our listeners who may or may not be aware, it is when a blood vessel bursts in your brain. Or every other organ in our bodies are earth tone, right? They're your whatever color that you can think of, like internal organs, right? We've seen them. We know what those colors are. Your brain isn't that color, right? Your brain doesn't have all of the circulation that those organs have. It's very specific, targeted blood vessels that feed the brain. And because of that, the color of the brain is very unique. And as a matter of fact, they call brain tissue gray matter, right? And so if and when a blood vessel bursts in your brain, you have a big problem because that's not where that blood is supposed to be, right? And so this lady was having all sorts of issues and headaches and things, and they ran an fMRI on her, and they figured out that she was going to have an aneurysm, and they located where the problem was, and they cracked her skull and shaved her head and opened her head. And Dom, I knew in that moment that going into surgery was not for me, brother. I knew that I didn't have the chops to open anybody up and go through that, man. And so I switched from the brain to the mind, right? I went from neuroscience to psychology. Like, let's not operate on your problems. Let's open up let's talk about them, right? And so they said, Mr. Burris, do you want to be a psychologist or um, a psychiatrist or a psychologist? And I was like, oh, you guys are making this hard, man. I mean, what's the difference, right? And so I said, I didn't want to do either one of those, right? And I found myself a graduate of Johns Hopkins University, made the dean's list and all of this kind of stuff, right? Graduated in 4 years, right on time, no extra semesters and all of that. And I found myself a graduate, newly married, because I was crazy enough to get married. I found some lady that I talked her into it, and she bit the bullet and drank the Kool-Aid. And so, so we're still married today, man. And I had all of that stuff. Nice little apartment in Baltimore County and no job, right? No job. And so I found myself, Dom, in the back of Applebee's restaurant out at East Point Mall here in Baltimore. And it's no longer there. It's a different restaurant. It's a seafood restaurant there now. But at the time, it was Applebee's. And I was in the dish room. Now, this is a guy who has a gold-plated degree on his wall. Now, it doesn't matter that the gold plate came from Walmart and it wasn't real gold. That's, God, listen, look, let's not get caught. There's technicalities, man. We're not going to get caught up in that part of it, right? But I had a gold-plated degree, bachelor's degree on my wall, right, in my little apartment in Dundalk, and no degree. I mean, no job. And so I'm in the back of Applebee's filling a dish rack, brother. And I was back there spraying that food off those plates. And after weeks and weeks and weeks of just like existing, being uncomfortable, but not too uncomfortable to really make changes, like, well, this is just a part of it. You know that just, just that's how life happens. I made a mistake, brother, not paying attention and sprayed that water too hard off of one of those plates. And a piece of food ricocheted off that plate and hit me in the face.
Ooh.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And it was at that moment, bro, that I had another eureka moment of clarity. And I realized that it was no sense of doing midterms and finals and 5, 7, 9, 12, 15-page papers to spray food on my face from somebody's old plate, bro. I could have skipped. If that was my goal, I could have skipped all of the homework, man. I could have skipped that part. And so that got my butt in gear. I started working in a nonprofit human services world. That was great. My wife and I started having our children. I needed more money. I found this opportunity online to do speaking and training. I applied for, well, I didn't apply for it. I didn't apply for it because I was scared. I didn't have the confidence to do it. And I had a mentor who professionally kicked my behind. He might as well, he never touched me, but he ripped me a new one, bro, because on a Friday, he helped me look and find this opportunity. And we worked at the same company. And Dom, he was so proud of me. He was like, Rodney, this is going to change your life. He was like, this is tailor made for you. You got everything they're looking for. He was like, I know you're going to get this. This is about to like, he saw it. And meanwhile, me, Dom, on the inside, I felt timid. I was scared. I was insecure about it. Like, oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, if you say so. That's how I felt, right? But I was trying to play it up. Like, no, yeah, this is great. I'm with you, James. His name was James Worthy, not the basketball player. And Dom, he took me around to all of the managers. He took me to the CEO of our company, our little nonprofit. And he was like, Rodney's not gonna be here with us much longer, man. You know, he's getting out of here. We about to fill out this thing, and I'm telling you, he's gonna take off. We're not gonna see him. That was on a Friday. Monday rolls around. He meets me at the door. Hey, how'd it go? Did you submit your video? Did you send an application? How was it? And I had to admit to him, no, I didn't do it. I didn't do it, James. And he was like, why? I was like, oh, I didn't have a haircut. He was like, what? You could have gotten a haircut over the weekend, man. What are you talking? Oh, well, you know what? I didn't have a camcorder. Now I'm dating. Now everybody knows how old I am, dog. Mr. Brightmon, they know how old I am now, dog, because I didn't have a camcorder, right? So I was telling James that I couldn't make the video, man. I didn't have a camcorder. And he looked at me so disappointed. And he gave me a couple more chances to really like, what kind of fire or earthquake or natural disaster happened in my life that prevented me from submitting an application? I didn't have a good excuse. And when I tell you that this man fussed me up one side and down the other, he said, Rodney, don't you ever let somebody be more excited and passionate about your future than you are for yourself. And then the kicker, bro, is that he walked me back around to those same managers, that same CEO, and said, Rodney will be with us for as long as it takes because he doesn't believe in himself. And I had to stand there and now that may sound abusive or emotionally, whatever, or inappropriate for the workplace, but it was like a family there, right? And what I'm telling you is that all of that, the passion that was on Friday was the same passion on Monday. And it all came out of a place of love and support. I know that, right? I was aware of it. It just, this part wasn't comfortable, but it was the kick in the butt that I needed. I sent in my information. That was in 2005. And at this point, man, I've been to 41 of our 50 states. I have been to working professionally 3 or 4 countries. I've been to more countries than that, just kind of experiencing things. But as far as the work is concerned, I've been to multiple countries. And I don't feel like I'm working at all, bro. I feel like I get to give the spray food face experience in a nutshell on paperback form in my sessions and help people live and grow in a way that they don't got to spray the food in their face themselves, man. That's how I got to here, bro.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All sorts of twists and turns, and it's always great to have those mentors like that who will bring you back down to reality because it's so darn true. It's like sometimes, and I'm pretty sure you probably may have seen this in your travels, is that your mentor was right. It's like don't really just be
Mm-hmm.
out there and let someone else be more excited about your future than you are for yourself
Right.
because sometimes people see a big future for us bigger than us because we have small minds and our minds haven't been expanded and we may lack enough self-love and self-esteem, but
Yeah,
like
man.
at the same time it's like dude, like you got to help other folks do that and they have to help themselves too, so that's so important. I'm
Right.
glad he taught you about that.
I didn't even know I needed it, man. I I didn't even know I needed it. You know what, man? You know that word that we throw around. I guess I was living in. That's that word complacent. I didn't love my life, right? But I wasn't dying. It's like, I would love better if better were around for me, but this is what I got, and I'm not dying. So, and the problem is we are dying, bro. Like all of us that have ever been in that phase of our lives, we're dying, but because it's carbon monoxide, right? Because it's odorless, because it's tasteless, because it doesn't have any kind of pungentness about it, we don't realize that it's killing us, man. And so we'll stay in a long relationship that's draining our battery, right? Even if we are plugged up, it's still this diminishing returns, right? We stay in jobs we stay in neighborhoods, we go over those people's house, whatever it is that we know that is not good for us, it's not giving us life. But because it's so slow, we stick with it, man. And I want all of us to be able to break free from that and live, not just exist, but truly be alive, man.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Because it's so darn true. It's it's kind of like that classic Ben Franklin quote where people die at 25, it just becomes official at 75.
Oh, I never heard that, but that hurts. Oh, that hurts. Yeah, man. Wow. Who wants that story, man?
Like it.
Who wants? Who wants that, man? That's a good one. I just want to let you know, Mr. Brightmon, I am tucking that Ben Franklin quote into my back belt here. And I'm gonna, the famed Ben Franklin once said that you die at 25, it just doesn't become official until I'm gonna throw that one around, man. I'm gonna tuck that quote in my pocket, man.
Hey, that's the power of wise sayings, man. Because ever since I heard someone else drop that, I'm like, you know what? That is so darn true. And heck, that's actually one of the main reasons why the last question of the show is usually about the age of 25. That's usually the age where you finally can get that insurance discount on the automobiles and you can file that discount. And some days folks may, well, well, to be honest, I kind of hate this part of life where a lot of millennials out there in their 20s are calling themselves old. And I'm like, dude, what the heck is your problem? Will you stop with
Right.
that blasphemy? You are not old.
Yes. It's blasphemous, man. And I had a buddy of mine. I have a buddy of mine named Frank. He lives in Seattle, Washington now. But when we were so I'm 39, right? When Frank and I were in our mid to late 20s, Frank started saying this phrase all the time, which was, man, we old. We old. And I'm like, Frank, we're in our 20s, bro. Like, we're not even 30 yet. He's like, man, we old, bro. And he literally meant it. Like, he literally felt that he was at the phase where he was old. He carried himself like that. He had like shorter pace. Like the old men that don't want you on their grass and don't sit on their steps.
Yeah.
That was Frank. Frank was one of those guys, man. Like he had short patience about everything. The only problem with that, man, have you ever heard of the placebo effect, Dom? Are you familiar with the placebo effect?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, man. That right there, for those of us who may be like, what is Dom and Rodney talking about placebo? What is that? That is when, and clinical trials and research studies have shown this time and time again, that people have been given sugar pills for illnesses, for ailments, for diseases, for sicknesses, right? That are measurable, that are photographable, that they have real signs and real symptoms in the medical world. And they have been given a pill that was nothing more than some sort of sugar, carbohydrate, right? But they were told that this was the new cure. Like, this is the thing. This is a clinical trial, and we're going to monitor this and take your pulse, and we're going to look at your temperature over this 7-week period. And more than half of the people, time and time again. So half is like a luck of the draw, right? Probability, heads or tails. When it's more than half, there's some intentionality going on. There's something directing it. There's something influencing the outcome. Time and time again, over half of the participants improve in their conditions, their medically documented conditions, from taking a pill that should be nothing more than something that just gets digested and passed through the system. And so what does that tell us? That tells us that a lot of our lived reality is directly impacted by how we think about our lived reality. Now, I know that sounds all kinds of like, oh, Dom let this guy on. He's talking about all of this like nebulous stuff up in the air, except for it's researched, except for it's printed in peer-reviewed journals, except for it comes out of institution like the fine one that I graduated from, right? Now, here's the tails of that. That's the head. That's the positive of it. Man, I can positively impact my reality if I think, and that's great. But the other side of that coin, Dom, is that means if I think negatively about my situation, if I go into it thinking that it's not going to work out, that I really am sick or old or defeated or whatever it is, I have the possibility to have the same kind of impact on my lived reality with a negative thought. And because it's so, it's so subdued in such a benign way of going about thinking, existing, we don't notice it. Once again, it's that carbon monoxide. And we're not realizing that we are the chief actor in our own story affecting these outcomes all the time. I just want to bring it to the forefront with the books that I write and the talks that I give, the trainings that I do, so that people are able to apply it with intention as opposed to kind of just being impacted by it unawares.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it's so darn true. And that just shows how powerful our mind is. Heck, even with that wonderful placebo effect study, like heck, that reminds me of the guy. He's been dead probably about 100 years now, but he had this affirmation that a lot of folks in the personal development space like to use that every day. I'm getting better and better. And I believe his name was Emil Kooley, I believe, if I'm pronouncing.
Oh, wow.
And he would test that with patients, and we just have them say that over and over again. And
Wow.
eventually people would actually feel better because our mind is so powerful. It's like how we perceive things, and heck, even just really why it's important to just be careful of what we put in our minds, what we tell ourselves, and what we allow our environments to really saturate our minds with. So powerful, man.
That's a great quote, bro. So that's another good one, man. I'm getting better and better every day. And what happens is you start to kind of believe it. And before you know it, there's this YouTube video, Dom, that I look at, and it makes me a little lame, but I'm okay with that, right? And I'm sharing this just in case anybody else wants to be a little lame also. There's this clip, and it has to be less than a minute long. And it's this the little girl has to be at least 3, right? She's definitely under 5. She's standing on the bathroom sink. So for those of you with sensibilities that would be, you like, oh no, get that baby off the sink. This video is going to make you think that, right? Because she's literally standing in front of the mirror on the bathroom sink. And the sink is pretty wide, but she's going through these series of affirmations. And she's saying, I love my house. I love my mom. I love my dad. And she's kind of moving to the side. I love my whole house. I love my hair. I love my haircuts. And she's just going through these lists of just whatever pops in her little 3-year-old mind. And she starts off low and I like my eyes. I like my nose. And before this minute, bro, is over, she's like, I love my whole life. And she claps. And she turns around and she's like, yes, I can do it. And she goes out and starts her day. And I'm telling you, bro, that is so powerful to be able to declare intention. It has the same effect if we were to sit down and be like, I'm sad. This sucks. And then how bad you feel. And we've been around people that feel like that feel gloomy, that feel a little detached and a little hopeless, and we get that on us. Well, the same is true with the positive, man. And it's so simple that we miss it because we like difficult, right? We like hard. We like words that we can't pronounce and recipes that we can't follow. But if it's just 3 or 4 ingredients in a very simple process, we kind of discount it by nature because we're used to struggle. Well, what if it could be so simple? I believe it can be, man.
Amen to that. Amen to that. That's why folks love communicators that keep things simple because not everybody wants the struggle. It's like, can you just give me the 3 steps and he just give me the 7 steps of self.
Right, right. I can track it. Like if you just gave it to me in a simple step, there's a whole science behind that, man. Like it's a science behind, and literally when we share with individuals that it is 3 steps or 5 steps or 7 steps, they track with us so much better than if we kind of just run through the same 3 to 5 steps without telling them. So if I know in the outset that this is about to be a 5-part whatever message or formula, I stick with you through 3, through 4, through 5. And when we don't give people that, we lose them. And so we can complain about attention span, and we can complain about the millennial and the Gen Z and all this other kind, this microwave generation. They used to say that once everything quit, we can complain about that, or we can look at the realities of the human dynamic and what we're currently dealing with and keep things simple. One of my favorite Einstein quotes. Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't really get it yourself. Now, this is Einstein, right? This is the bona fide, world-renowned, recognized genius. He said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't really get it yourself. How did he explain the universe? Right? It was a 3-letter formula. E equals MC squared. The whole universe, right? The whole universe defined in 3 letters. And so he was a firm believer of what you just said, bro. Give it to us in a way where we can digest this thing, man. Like I love the books that are 400 pages and I love the multi-volume that, like, I get it and I can do your courses and get your degrees. But can you help me get it in a way that I can tuck it in my back pocket? Because I may not be able to carry the 7 volumes of encyclopedias with me, right? I need to keep those somewhere as a research reference point. But when I'm moving in the world and my boss is yelling at me and I got one more email and my kid is getting on my nerves, and like my mother, how she used to do back in the day when she used to drive home from work and get more and more depressed because she had to come home to my dad, who I have a great relationship with now, right? We worked through a lot of that stuff, but this is years ago. And so years and years ago, when she has to drive home and she's getting more and more overcome with depression and every mile that she took, can we give those people, something that they can just easily grab? Some acronym, some rhyming, something that is easily accessible so that they can make it not Monday through Friday, maybe not even Monday to Tuesday. Can you just help me get through today? And that's what I love about the title of your podcast. I told you your title of your podcast, Dom, is out there. It's in the World Wide Web. Like I found it before I found your name. And what drew me to you is something about the process of going. If you said gone north, or if you put made it north, right? It's so subliminal, but it's something about the process of that ing that it kind of gives hope. It's like I can catch on to this. I can still make it. But you know what I mean? It's like I can catch this train with you, man. And then north, I mean, so many things. Santa's in the North Pole, bro. Like so many things about North kind of gives that hope, gives that feeling of looking up. And so those sort of things, man, something as simple as the title of a podcast. Those things are things that people can tuck into their pockets, research reference later, and it gives them the strength to get to the point where they go and they buy the book, right? Or they enroll in the course, or they leave the abusive relationship, or whatever it is. They take that next step and jump, but they're able to do so by little simple things, man. So I really appreciate that you even brought that to light, bro. Thanks, man.
My pleasure indeed, and glad it's getting out there too. Because this is bigger than me. That's another reason why I don't put my face on the cover art, because it's bigger than me, and that's the name of the game. Is just inspiring folks like, hey, success is tangible here. Like
Mm,
everybody needs that inspiration. It's like with like empowerment. Like everybody needs empowerment, especially the chocolate folks. You know, we all need our empowerment,
we
especially
do,
man.
bro.
Like black folks,
We
we need
do.
our empowerment, man, because we've been taking it for years and centuries, man. And
Yeah.
it's really just making sure that everybody gets it and making it just open for just about anybody who's got a good story to share, something to inspire other folks with, and heck, even encouraging other folks to read too, even if it's just a little bit at the time. Because I know some folks, they may
Nice.
not like reading all the time, but if you can read Facebook, if you can read Instagram,
Hmm.
you can at least read a couple pages out of a book.
And that's the beautiful thing about what you do, Dom, because I can take you and throw you into my wireless headphones, man. I could put you in my Bluetooth. I could put you in the speaker of my car. I could sit on the bus. I could sit on the train. And so, um, our oldest kids, bro, my wife and I have, I think I mentioned this. Uh, I always say she has a lot of kids, right? That's my growing shtick. That right, everybody, and everywhere I go, people shake their like, "What do you mean she has a lot of?" I'm like, "Yeah, that lady needs a hobby. So you tell me about it, right? Am I right?" But so we got 5 kids, man, and our oldest are twins, Aaliyah and Anthony. They're 16 now. They're high school students. And my daughter tells me all the time how, she's going to school, she's on the bus, and nobody knows that in her head, she's like, "Dad, I listen to music that you listening to." Now, Dad's music that Dad listens to, for me, the truth of the matter is that could be an old Fred Hammond, Kirk Franklin song, or that could be Rick Ross or Tupac, right? So she but she's like, if my friends knew that I was listening to my dad's music, they would be like, "Girl, what you doing?" And I say that to say that's the benefit of what you do, Brightman. You give us, you equip us, and you empower us to throw something in our ears that allows us to save face. Because sometimes one of the toughest things about change is having to face those around us that don't know us as this new person we're becoming, right? And so if I can, at least till I get strong enough, until it solidifies inside of me who I desire myself to be now, right? If that's not hard and fast yet, if that concrete hasn't settled, at least while it's forming, I can put going north. I can put positive music. I can put a nice YouTube playlist in my ear, or a selection off of this streaming app, or whatever it is. And I can get fed this stuff that is strengthening me internally, so that I get to the point where I don't have to worry about my surroundings, or what my people may think, or how they want to view me as the old me, because I'm a different person now. And so listening to that, even if I don't read the books, even if I don't buy the books, even if I don't scroll the interweb and the social media, content like Going North, that's the frontier, man. I was a part of a mastermind group recently, and they were talking about the growing impact of podcasting. And admittedly, bro, that's what got me to reach out to you. I don't want to be connected to smart, successful individuals, have them share knowledge based on their experience that is like proven and all of this other kind of stuff. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, that's great. Let me keep going about my day, eat this Pop Tart." I don't want to be that guy, right? I want to be around them, be grateful for that access, and then take that and digest it and turn it into nutrients, man. I want to turn it into strength and new opportunity. And that's what made me get out there and be like, who is making an impact? I I don't believe for me, Dom, that my path is to start this whole podcast for myself. I believe my path is to find the individuals that are doing it, right? And hold hands with them. And if I can bring my peanut butter and they bring their jelly, man, we can feed some folks. So thanks for what you do, man.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. And I can appreciate the customized email too, because that's one of the best actual email pitches ever that I've actually received.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I meant that, man. I meant that. I wrote that for you, from me to you.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks, man.
Because yeah, man. Because I had one person, she'd be like, "Hey, I want to be on your show. Check out my website," and she didn't even leave a link at all on the rest of the email. I'm like, "Huh?" All right, delete.
So what part of it stood out for you, man? What part of that crazy little thing I threw together? What connected, man?
Yeah, man. So basically, the going north and all caps at the end, and then you being from
Uh-huh.
Baltimore,
Yeah, man.
and I can tell you actually took the time to actually craft it. Like it's all lined up real nice, even
Hmm.
at the bold letters, and you actually incorporated some of the wording into the pitch as well to show
Yeah,
that you actually
man.
paid attention.
Yes, man. Yeah, I did. I'm so glad to hear you say that, man, because I did. I didn't just find some Wikipedia page of like top podcast. Your podcast was listed in some top. I don't know what it was, bro. It was a top list, but even within that list, it didn't. I didn't like all of them didn't resonate. Like I'm telling you, something about your title. That's what. If you remember, scroll back to when we first topped off our hour. I literally said, "How'd you come up with that? Like, what was the story?" Because that's what grabbed me, right? And if it grabbed me, there might be a few other quirky people out there that it'll grab too, right? That your title grabbed me first, and that made me want to figure out. And then when I kind of dove into, I was like, "And this guy's in Baltimore? Like, are you kidding me?" And so, yeah, man, I wanted to connect with you. I wanted to connect with Dom Brightmon, and I don't know, man. I felt honored that you responded. I knew I kind of reached out like right around holiday time, so I was like, this guy might be busy. He's eating turkey. He's opening gifts, right? He's a jolly good fellow. Like all of the Feliz Navidad, right? Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa. Like, oh, I'm gonna miss this guy. So yeah, man, I'm just honored that you got my email. It reached you the way I intended. I wanted you to see that I didn't do what you said the lady did, right? I didn't just say like, hey, I've been talking to people, might like it. I didn't do that, man. I really wanted to show that I think you and I are doing the same work from different positions on the field. And it's an honor to connect with that, man.
Amen, indeed, because we are definitely better together, indeed. So we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive for the first round.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. If someone's shouting and their wig came off, it's a-okay. So if you so if you're to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but this time in the current year of 2021, with all of your amassed knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
So my issue at that time was confidence. And what I would tell Rodney C Burris, 25-year-old Rodney C Burris, is to focus on what he does have and do more of it. Because at the time, I felt flimsy, to be honest with you. I felt empty, and I felt like I was just going through the motions. I was very, very, very unhappy at 25, bro. I was very unhappy at 25. And I didn't know, but to your point about 25, I didn't know what I had inside of me. I didn't know who I was or who I could be. I didn't know that fast forward a few years that you and I will be sitting here having a conversation like this. I feel very different than who I was then, but I could have accessed this so long ago. Because, like a quote that I was recently told by another, remember I just mentioned that mastermind. So another person in the mastermind group said this quote right here, Dom. They said, "We have greatness inside of us, just like the mighty oak tree is currently living inside of the little acorn." And I didn't know that, bro. I didn't know that because I couldn't see it, that didn't mean it wasn't there. I thought it wasn't there. I felt empty. And that's kind of because I was looking externally, like I was looking for proof. I was looking for riches. I don't know what the heck I was looking for. All I know is that I didn't have it, bro. But I was sitting on it all along. So if I could go back to him, and what I would tell any of us, that the part of us that is right here with us on this podcast right now, we have it right now inside of us. It's not over there. It's not when I get there next year. It's not when I get more money. It's literally who we are on the inside. And so all we have to do is intentionally identify with what we do that's good, or the part of us that's strong, even if it's a small part, and do more of it, amplify it, magnify it, work on it. And we'll solidify that part of us, man, if we want. So that's what I would tell him. I hope he would listen, because I was a little sad back then, Dom. So I don't even know if I really would have heard it or if it just would have been a seed planted, man. But hopefully it would have taken root, and hopefully it would land me where we are today,
Ah, yes, indeed. And landing the plane, indeed, baby. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Because it's so darn true. Like a lot of us are really just sitting on gifts that we have nowadays, and we have more ways to actually get our gifts out there and for the world to be seen. Like, even though 2020 was a year of the great reset and the year of the mirror, where
man.
everybody look at themselves and be like, oh, shoot, maybe not as big as I really thought it was. And had to come back down to earth and made a lot more pathways for folks to tap into to get their voices out there, man. So definitely solid advice right there. Find your confidence, and if you know you have a gift, just get out there and use it to the best
Mm,
of your ability. Don't wait, don't hesitate. Like that's
mm.
that's where the madness
Th-
happens, is when you
right
hesitate.
there. That's right, man. That's right. Thank you so much for having me, man. Thanks for taking your time with me. I appreciate you, Dom.
Oh, my pleasure. Right back at you, man. It's the appreciation boat in here, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
You got that radio voice, man. I'm telling you, you got the gift, man. You have found your flow. I hope you continue to look for opportunities to use your voice, man. And I literally mean, I don't even mean like just people say use your voice. I mean literally the timbre and quality of your resonance, Dom. It is fit for the ears. It is fit for the masses, bro. So please continue to keep your eyes open for opportunities to broaden your gift, to use it in different venues. You got a great voice and you have great positive energy behind it. And is we need to hear it. We need more of it, man.
Yes, indeed. Duly noted. Got an audiobook working on right now with a person. So you'll be here. It'll be out in a few weeks. Hopefully, by the time this episode goes out, folks will be able to grab it off Audible and grab it. And
Nice,
so
man.
hopefully, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, speaking of grabbing great products and materials, for those who want to keep in contact with the radiant Rodney himself, what's the best way for folks to reach out to you?
Absolutely. My name is Rodney C Burris. Burris is Burris. So if you typed it into Google, or if you added a .com in front of it, or if you put info at, or if you did Rodney C Burris at Gmail, or if you went to Twitter, or if you went to LinkedIn, or if you went to Facebook, you went to YouTube, Rodney C Burris. That is who I am. That's what my mama called me. Yeah, man. So my name is Rodney C Burris, guys. I would love to connect. I would love to hear your ideas. I would love to share more of what Dom and I talked about with you, with your teams, with your groups. So yeah, and if you say that you heard about me on Dom's Going North, then I don't know. I would love to give something special for that, man. Just for people that are connected to you, Dom. I want to be a blessing to them, man. Like you've been a blessing to me. So, if any of your folks say that they heard me for the first time or any time on your Going North podcast, man, if you guys mention that, um, let's work out something special for you and your folks, man, and be able to give what I have to you guys in a way that's beneficial for us also. That'd be my gift, man, and appreciation, kind of paying it forward for who you are, dog.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, there you have it, folks. You don't have to wait till Christmas again, folks, to get a gift. That's right. Reach out to Rodney. Grab some of that ratings. Grab some of that knowledge. Man's got $4. Grab all four. Buy 40 copies of each. Share with your friends. Share with your dog, your cat. If you got a camel, share with the camel. Eat and let the folks know, like, hey, you too got to get off the bike, baby. That's right.
That's right. That's right, man. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you, Dom.
How's it going, you super special, awesome human? Since you made it to the end of this episode, it looks like you really enjoyed yourself. Since you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with at least 3 people in your network and tell them what you really liked about this episode. Heck, even shoot myself or the guest an email and let them know what you liked most about this interview so that way they can stay inspired to keep pushing out